Hi guys, it's Michelle from The Healing Heart. How do you think of the dragonflies? I've had them up for the last little while and I really like them. And they remind me of my special spirit guide that we all love and who guides so many of us. But anyway, um, gee. Today I'm going to tell you a little story and it has to do with surrender. I'm sure that you've heard so many times along our spiritual path about surrender. What is surrender? What do we surrender? How do we surrender? How do we find it? What does it mean? What does it really mean? Is it just words or does it actually mean something? Can we actually do something? Does it have to be forced upon us? And the answer to all of the above is many different things. But yes, surrender is real. Surrender does help. It does change your energy. It changes how you feel. And it changes your life, not just once, but many times, as many different layers. So it's often been shown to me by Spirit how we heal ourselves, how we move forward in emotional healing is like an onion. So, you know how an onion has many different layers to it. And we'll peel off the outer coating of the onion, and then we get into the flesh of the onion, and we can peel many different layers off of the onion to get to the small inside piece. And so when it comes to our emotional self, when it comes to um, possibly things that are within us that have happened to us in our past that we go over and over, whether it's something that we feel somebody did to us or did do to us, or something that we did to someone else, maybe we carry regret, maybe we have shame in some way. All of these things that we carry within us are sitting with us in us at a subconscious level. So we may have some awareness, so we may have some conscious awareness to it, especially if it's something that's fresh or just happened to you and you may think about it. Maybe it only comes up once in a while. Maybe they are thoughts and feelings that are attached to an experience that we had, and we may act and do things that avoid us from visiting the feeling that we have that's connected to that experience. Hopefully that makes sense to you as I'm saying it. So, when I started my journey, when I consciously started my journey, and I'm not counting the years back when I was aware, and I've known that I've had psychic abilities, and I always believed in it, always believed in astrology and all of those things, always believed in mediums too. But I didn't realize that that was also me. I just thought, okay, well, we all dream about our loved ones when they pass. We all get messages. I fully and totally believed that because that was something that occurred in my family. My father would receive messages and we would talk about it, and we didn't really dwell on it much. It was just kind of the way it was, and we would sometimes have situations that would validate things, and I just thought that if you pay attention to it, that's what happens with everybody. And the truth is, it does happen to everybody, but not everybody is tuned in the same way, or not everybody's meant to do the same thing with it. So when I consciously, after, I'll say, my biggest awakening, so when I went through the opiate addiction and being sick, after having my children, that was a very difficult time for me. And I carried a lot of shame with that too, because I felt trapped in something that I couldn't get out of. And I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know if what I was doing was the right thing, but yet deep down inside, I knew that it had to stop. And I mean, that's a whole story for another time, but just to explain, that was an opportunity for me to awaken. And I did to a degree. And then I just kind of went back to what I was doing and carried forward. Now, I also had my son in between that time. Um, and I was in the hospital for quite a while when I was pregnant with him. So there were many different layers to my onion that were peeling off in my own awakening until what I call the big reveal, which was after I was diagnosed with cancer and going through chemo and radiation and surgery and all of those things and all of the experiences that went along with it. That to me was the biggest chunk off of my onion, so to speak, because at that time, that's when I felt that I had lost all control. I had experienced illness before. I had experienced loss. I had experienced painful relationships. I'd gone through a lot of different things that I didn't think that I would ever deal with something like this. But what's very interesting, and anybody who has known me personally for a long time will know that that was the one thing that I would talk about being so terrified of, was getting cancer. And I had such a love affair with my hair at that time before, and put a lot of effort into taking care of it, and put a lot of effort into a lot of things on the outside of me. And that was my way of always controlling my circumstances, because I felt so out of control in many different ways in other areas. Anyway, again, let's not get off on topic, Michelle. Okay. So my whole point is that when I had cancer, I had to really make a choice. And again, it wasn't something, and I've said this so many times, it wasn't something that I just all of a sudden knew that, okay, if I'm positive, I can make this go away, I can treat this, I can heal this. It wasn't like that. It was like, I have to choose something, and I can't choose to stay in bed with a sheet over my head. I have to be able to get up every day. I have to still be able to take care of my children, and I have to somehow make their life okay through all of this. And that was my focus. That's how I began. And so I made those choices for my children, for my family, for everyone else. I chose to only address the positive, to make jokes, to be light, to every thought that I had, I was not going to entertain. If I was going to die, I was not going to entertain any of that stuff. It just was not going to happen. And what I didn't count on, and what I didn't understand, was that by doing that, by choosing that day after day after day, moment after moment, which, and some days it really was moment to moment, but by doing that, I started to build a frequency. I started to build a little platform for myself of positive energy. And so, not understanding then that I was a manifester, that we all are, not really, thinking, okay, I'd heard about the law of attraction, I'd heard about that stuff, but it just, I don't know, it seemed like a lot of work, and I wasn't really convinced that that's the way things were. So how better to be convinced than to go through it yourself, because the truth of the matter is, you will never fully understand something until you're able to experience it yourself, which is why the spiritual path is so darn interesting, because I can sit here and I can tell you all these beautiful, amazing, miraculous type experiences that I've had and what goes on in my head now and the way things are. But if you've not experienced it in one way or another, and if you're unsure, it's going to be very hard for you to feel convinced by my words. So that's why I say I'm not here to prove anything to anybody. I'm just going to keep speaking my truth, speaking my story, because I know that there's lots of other people out there like me and just want to know what it's like, and that we all have this ability, and that it's real, and this option is there, and if you choose not to ride it, then great. But if you do, then know that you're not alone. So many of us are. So anyway, the biggest surrender for me was definitely surrendering control over my circumstance, not knowing how things were going to turn out, not even knowing if I was going to make it another year. And here I am, almost 6 years later. Here I am feeling better than ever. Not only physically in my body, but mentally and emotionally. I am the strongest and the most confident I've ever been in my life. And that doesn't come from anywhere else other than being connected with my higher self, being connected with my own truth, letting go of shame for the choices that I made that maybe weren't the best choices in my past, not holding myself accountable for what I feel other people think about me, for not punishing myself for the assumptions that other people were making of me, and for really standing up and being who I really am, for not being afraid to say that I love and I believe in love and I believe in good things and I believe in positive things and I don't believe in judgment and I believe in being compassionate and I believe in boundaries and all of those things, and to say that I believe that I deserve a good life. I believe that I'm successful. I believe that I'm a good person, I'm a good mom, I'm a good wife, I'm a good friend. And I believe that everybody is exactly where they need to be right now for whatever it is that they are meant to do or desire to do. And it's up to each one of us to be able to recognize those opportunities and start our own path. So now the little story part that I'm going to add is the very first time I connected with the word surrender was very early on in my journey. And I may have told this story before, so if you've heard it before, sorry. But if you're hearing it for the first time, then listen on. Good for you for sticking on with me this long. So, this was like, I think after my chemo was done, I may have been starting radiation at this point. So I've had chemo, I had my surgery, I had definitely shifted into a much more positive place, and I was really working on my emotional health. I was already going down the rabbit hole and understanding and figuring things out, connecting dots about myself, doing all the things that we're familiar with. And so I had gotten into the practice of meditating, and I did that for stress and anxiety because I was extremely anxious everywhere I went. Everything that I did, I was extremely emotional and anxious. And so I started to use meditation to be able to calm myself down, and I began to notice a considerable difference in how I felt. And so I was sitting in my room this one day, and it was in the morning. I remember it was around 11 o'clock in the morning, and I was peaceful, quiet. I was getting in the zone, and at this point, I was having a lot of really interesting experiences happening. When I go into meditation, I was seeing a lot of faces and colors and shapes, and I would get these little picture boxes that would pop up, and I would see like the image of somebody. Sometimes I knew who it was, a lot of times I didn't. And this one morning I could start, and I always know when it's about to happen, when spirit's about to come and join me in my meditation, I start to get this like white flickering is the only way to explain it. Almost like a window is opening or a door is opening, and this light comes in from the sides, and it comes in and just kind of brightens up what I can see. And of course my eyes are closed, I'm in meditation. So as I'm sitting there and I can feel see the white light start to come in, and from, I see if I can explain this properly. The best way to explain it is, from my perspective, I could see the word was like a snake, and it was a word. I could tell it was a word, and it was going like this way and moving like a snake, and then it stopped. So it was like seeing a movie credit scroll in front of me, and it stopped in front of me, and it was kind of a whitish blue light that was all lit up, and it said the word surrender. And I was so darn excited that I saw the word. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I was like, holy crap. And I looked at it, and as soon as I kind of registered with the word, I popped out of that state and opened my eyes, and I was like, surrender what? What do I surrender? Because at that time, of course, it was early on, and I actually thought at one point I really didn't need any emotional healing. So that changed. But that was my first experience with the word surrender. So my whole message about this is, whatever you are learning right now, whatever you understand or you feel that you don't understand right now, you're going to find that your onion is peeling off in many different layers. And as the world's onion, the collective onion, is peeling off and things are being exposed, and we will continue to see more of that, know that that's happening on a personal level as well. So even if you don't understand fully everything in this moment, you have to really practice faith and trust that it will all be revealed to you in time. Well, hearts, that's my message for today. I love you all. Again, thank you to those who have just joined us. I appreciate you being here so much, and I look forward to talking more. Have a great day. Bye, hearts.